Hi everybody, welcome back to Sunshine Soap and Candle Company. Today I'm going to be restocking a big batch of body butter, and you guys have actually seen me make this body butter before. About 2 years ago I published this video making the same body butter, and it's a very popular video here on my channel, and it's also a very popular recipe and tutorial on my Patreon campaign. I still get lots of people coming over there specifically for this recipe. Over the last several years of making this product, I have refined and perfected the method by which I make this. So the purpose of today's video is to share with you my new methods, or my current methods I should say, and also I have tweaked this recipe just a bit, so I wanted to share with you some of those changes I made and why I made them. So if you're interested in the full written recipe and tutorial, please head on over to my Patreon campaign, because I will be publishing the current recipe and current tutorial that goes with this body butter, and I'll be leaving the old one up as well so you can make your comparisons and kind of decide for yourself how you would like to make this. Also in this video, I'm going to be answering some of those commonly asked questions I get regarding this recipe. So I hope you really enjoy this video. If you like this content, please remember to give this video a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel and share this video with a friend. All right, let's get started. All right, so first things first, when you're making any type of cosmetic or leave-on product, you want to make sure that your entire workstation, including anything that's going to come into contact with your product, spatulas, stick blenders, scales, thermometers, containers that are going to hold your finished product, that everything has been cleaned down and disinfected with a 5% bleach and water solution or 99% rubbing alcohol. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is weigh off the water for the water phase of this project. Now I know what some of you are thinking. You're probably asking yourself, why is she using water? It's a body butter. Well, the truth is I really like body butters, but I don't always like the way that they sit on top of the skin and leave it kind of greasy feeling. And I find that a lot of my customers also don't like that feeling. So this water and butter emulsion actually helps the butter to glide onto the skin super easily. It absorbs and it doesn't leave you feeling greasy. Now a lot of you are going to say, well, that's a lotion. However, I'm not using any liquid oils in this recipe. I'm only using hard butters and water and a few other ingredients. So I call it body butter. However, you can call it what you like. So we're going to go ahead and weigh off the water. Okay, an important thing to note here is you're going to want to go ahead and put your water in the smaller of the two containers, because eventually we're going to be combining the waters with the butters, and we're going to be doing it water into butters. So you want to make sure that the second container for the butters that you're going to be using is the bigger one, because eventually everything is going to be into this container. Okay, next up we're going to be weighing out the shea butter for this recipe. Now, shea butter is a really, really beautiful moisturizing butter. It's very skin loving, it's conditioning, and it's healing. It's a bit heavier and greasier than the mango butter, which we're also going to be using in this recipe. So the balance of the two is really nice. So an important thing also to note is that in the last video with this recipe, I used unrefined shea butter. Now I have since switched to the refined shea butter, and that's for a couple different reasons. You can totally keep using the unrefined if you like, but I like that the refined comes in this beautiful creamy white color, and unrefined shea butter can come in different varying colors of brown and kind of grayish. And so I like the color of this better. I also like the consistency of the refined shea butter better. It's very consistent. It comes in the same kind of hardness every time, whereas sometimes the unrefined shea butter can be a little softer and stickier, which is again in your end product, which is fine. I just like the way that this sets up versus the refined. Also, the unrefined shea butter comes with a very strong, naturally nutty smell, which can be really nice in some products if you're making something with a coffee smell or a hazelnut smell. But it does kind of come through into your finished product, especially if it's just a stronger batch. And if you don't want that smell to come through or risk coming through to your final product, it's better to just use the refined shea butter. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and weigh off the mango butter for this recipe. Now, mango butter is super healing. It's got a lot of antioxidants. It's anti-aging. It's a wonderful ingredient to add to the body butter, and it's also considered a dry butter. So it's not going to leave your skin with that kind of greasy feeling we were talking about before. And it's very good in combination with shea butter. And I also use refined mango butter. Okay, and we're just going to weigh this out, all in the same container. Okay, there we go. Now this is what we're going to be calling our heated oil or butter phase. In a lotion, it's the heated oil phase, although we are not using any liquid oils. So to this now, we're going to be adding in our beeswax and our stearic acid. So for my emulsifying wax, this is also something different than the last time you saw this video. So last time you saw me using the silky wax from Nature's Garden, and today I'm just going to be using the regular old emulsifying wax from Brambleberry. You can pick up emulsifying wax from anywhere really, but this one happens to come from Brambleberry. And the reason I've switched to this one is just because I really like the way that this emulsifying wax sets up in the product, meaning it gives it a little bit more body and kind of thickness. The silky wax is really nice too, but it's slightly thinner in consistency in your finished product. So I'm using regular wax, so that is one of the differences here. And then we're using the stearic acid. Now, it's important to know why we're using stearic acid and why we're using emulsifying wax. So we're using emulsifying wax because we are using water in this product, and you cannot combine an oil-based product or a butter with water if you're not using emulsifying wax. It is not the same thing as beeswax. Beeswax is not an emulsifier. I get that question a lot. Can I use beeswax instead of emulsifying wax? No. Emulsifying wax is actually what makes the two combine, the water and the melted down butters. If you don't use wax of some sort, an emulsifying wax, you will not get, the combination will not come together, meaning your butters and your waters will separate and you won't have a homogeneous blend. So then the next thing we're going to be doing is adding in the stearic acid. So stearic acid is a very conditioning ingredient, and it helps lower the pH just a little bit of your product, but it's also what helps your product thicken up. So this is what creates that nice, thick cream that everybody likes in their lotions and butters. Okay. Now that we have these, the water and the butters and the waxes and the stearic acid all measured out, we are going to go ahead and heat up these two things. We want the temperature to be roughly the same. The water and the butters, we want these temperatures to be roughly the same when we get done heating them up. That's going to help the blending process. It's going to help everything combine. So I'll be right back when everything is melted down. Okay, so everything is melted down and within 10 degrees of each other. So the butters are sitting at around 160 and my water is sitting at around 150 degrees Fahrenheit. So you want to be within that 10-degree range just to get a good emulsion. It's okay if it's slightly off. You should still be able to get a great emulsion. Butters and lotions are super forgiving. recipes. And you might have noticed that I put my e-wax and my stearic acid in with the butters. And the last time I made this on video, I had my stearic acid and my e-wax in the water. I think this is just an easier and a better way to do it. There's nothing wrong with doing it the other way that I showed you, but I think just for getting a quicker emulsion and making sure everything is melted down and you get a good combination without risk of separating, this is probably a better practice. So I do melt everything down in my microwave also, which you guys might be wondering how I got these melted down. I have a giant microwave, and I watch very carefully and I make sure that my butters don't get above about 170 degrees. If you get your shea butter too hot, then you will ruin your product. It will turn everything grainy. So this is where the magic happens. And I know some of you don't like using the microwave, but I feel really good about using the microwave. I'm very careful in my practices, and I make sure my products don't get too hot. So as long as you're careful, I think it's fine. However, if you don't want to use the microwave, you can use a double boiler. So we're just going to use a very clean stick blender, and you're going to start to see it turn as soon as the water hits the waxes, the stearic acid, and the butters. All right, so as you can see, it has turned completely white and it's starting to turn into that nice body butter cream. So what we need to do is we need to stick blend this for about 3 minutes just to make sure we have a really good emulsion. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll bring you back when it's all emulsified. Okay, we went ahead and we used the stick blender for about 3 minutes, but as you can see, this is still very, very liquidy. It's nowhere near a body butter consistency, as it's still rather warm. So what we need to do is just let this cool down, and you need to give your stick blender a break. So you can hand stir it for a bit, let it cool down, and then we're going to come back and give it another stick blend in about 10 minutes or so. So in the meantime, we're just going to go ahead and set this aside, and then we're going to go ahead and weigh off our cool down ingredients. Okay, I plan on making about 15 pounds total today, but the batch size that I'm showing you right now is 5 pounds. And this is going to be my pink sugar. This is the same fragrance blend that I showed you last time. This is my most popular body butter, the pink sugar, and then I'm going to be trying 2 new ones also. So pink sugar, I get this from Nature's Garden. It's a gorgeous smell. It's a duplication. I can't remember offhand right now what it's a duplicate of. It's a pink sugar type. It just has a really nice sugary kind of top note, sweet but yet sophisticated and clean. It's really, really good. So we're going to be weighing off the fragrance. Another difference in this recipe versus the first time I showed you this is I'm not using as much fragrance as I did before. There's nothing wrong with the amount of fragrance that I used before. I just think you don't need as much personally. I have opted to use less than I've used in the past. This is a strong fragrance. You can use the amount suggested in the first recipe that I shared with you, but I have backed it down just for personal preference. And then to this, we're going to be adding in our Optifin preservative. And I'm using Optifin because it's a really great oil-based preservative, meaning if you're using any type of oil-based, making any type of oil-based product, it does a really good job. Okay. And then we're just going to give this a stir, and we're going to set it aside. So we just want to make sure our product is not too warm before we add in the preservative. Now this is the 176 degree Optifin, meaning it needs to be lower than 176 degrees to add in the cool down ingredients. So as you can see, we're still very liquidy, although it is starting to set up a little bit on the sides. I'm going to show you my spatula here. This is what it starts to do. So we're just going to give it a stir by hand, and then in a few minutes I will bring you back to add in the cool down ingredients. I thought I might also let you know too, I get questions a lot about, people will ask me, well, the consistency of my cream is too thin. My body butter didn't set up. It's really hard to know without watching you make your product exactly what went wrong. But some of the things that might happen when your body butter is not setting up is you either didn't use stearic acid, that's going to be that thickener we talked about, or you didn't use the right measurement of stearic acid. You have to be very precise when you're weighing out all your ingredients, because the percentage of each ingredient plays an important role in what it actually is doing for your product. Also, another reason for separation, a lot of times people will ask me about, well, I made this and I'm having a problem with separation, meaning my butters and my water are not staying combined. So just off the top of my head, my first thoughts are, well, maybe you're not using emulsifying wax like we talked about. That's the ingredient that's going to combine everything and keep it homogeneous. Or maybe you didn't add enough emulsifying wax. The other thing is you have to make sure you stick blend with a nice high-powered stick blender to get that high-powered emulsion. And you have to do it for enough time to make sure that everything gets combined. Okay, we'll be back when we're ready to add the cool down ingredients. Okay, it has been sitting down for about another 10 minutes and it is starting to get a little bit thicker, but really it's still very, very watery. So I'm going to go ahead and take the temperature and see if we're able to add those cool down ingredients. And we're sitting right at around, I'm going to say about 102 degrees. So yes, we're definitely okay to add in the preservative and also the fragrance. So we're going to go ahead and add these cool down ingredients in, and then we will give it a stick blend to just get it completely all blended up. Okay, and then we're just going to switch off between stick blending and hand mixing here. And we're going to allow this time to get to room temperature and set up completely before we put it into our containers. So I'll bring you right back when we're ready to go ahead and put it into the containers. Okay everybody, I wanted to go ahead and give you a progress update. The body butter is sitting at right around 90 degrees Fahrenheit and it's about 70 degrees in my workspace, so it hasn't quite reached room temperature yet, but it's still kind of warm, but it is thickening up to a really nice consistency. So I just wanted to show you that. And as it gets cooler and closer to room temperature, it will get into that nice thick butter consistency. So also I just wanted to mention too that I did go ahead and use the stick blender and the spatula just every few minutes while it was cooling down, and then I stopped as it started to thicken up. So I'll bring you back when it's ready to go into the containers and it's reached room temperature. All right, everybody, we're back to go ahead and bottle this up. And I am using these 8-ounce white double-walled containers. These are appropriate for lotions and cosmetics. They have a dome lid. I got these from Nature's Garden, and I've been using them for body butters now since forever, as long as I've been making body butters. And this is still not room temperature, but it's thickened way up. We're sitting at about 85 degrees Fahrenheit now. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you how this goes into the containers. In my last video where I showed you body butter, I went ahead and I piped it into the containers, and I don't really do that anymore with this product. I do really like to use this spatula here. It's slightly curved, so it's got a little bit of a scoop to it. It just helps me get the body butter in here cleanly. But let me show you the consistency we're sitting at now, that it's about 85 degrees. I mean, it's just such a good consistency. I'll show you close up. As you can see, it's just super thick and really, really nice. So if you wanted to pipe these in, you could do that, but I just don't do that anymore. Okay, so I think also one of the things that I didn't mention why people really like this recipe is because it's such a luxurious product, but it doesn't have any kind of crazy ingredients in it. It really is just very simple ingredients that typically, if you were in the business of making these types of products, you would have this sitting around your house or your workspace. You would have all these ingredients. Okay, so this is about how high. I do fill it up to the top because I want to show you, people have been asking me recently about condensation with your products. So one of the ways that I avoid that is I don't leave any real headspace in my container. So because this is a little domed lid, I want to make sure my product touches the top or the inside of this lid when it's closed. That way we don't build any condensation. I'll show you what I mean by that. So there's that, but I want to show you when I open it back up, it's full to the point that it touches the inside of the lid. So then we're not going to build any condensation on the inside of the lid. And that's how I do that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and fill the rest of these up. Okay, these are all portioned off into their little containers, and I am going to let them get a little cooler before I do put the cap on them, but I wanted to go ahead and show you a product demo. You do get a little more, you have 8 full containers. This is a 5-pound recipe, and then this wouldn't have filled one of these 8-ounce containers up all the way, so you do get a little bit of extra. You could fill these up a little bit less, I guess, and get another full one. But anyway, this is how I fill mine up, just to make sure they get all the way to the top. Let me show you how this works. So this is just a gorgeous product. And you'll notice with this recipe too, after about 24 hours, it sets up even more than it is the first couple hours. So by tomorrow, this will be even more set up, more like just a thicker body butter type consistency. And there it is. It's just so easy, gorgeous, luxurious. It sinks right into the skin without feeling greasy at all. So this is always my go-to non-greasy body butter recipe. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please remember to give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, share this video with a friend, and subscribe to my channel. Catch you on the next video.